Okay, so since I is defined as the square root of -1, and I is called an imaginary number, we can then use our knowledge of square roots to simplify some square roots that have negative values. Okay, so if we think of the square root of 4, we know square root of 4 is a perfect square. So haven't been able to take the square root of -4 because the square root of -4 is imaginary. So let's take the square root of -4 and change it into the square root of +4 times the square root of -1, because 4 times -1 is -4. Okay? Now, we know that the square root of +4 is 2. And we just learned that the square root of -1 is defined to be I. So the square root of -4 is defined as 2I. Okay? So that's an imaginary number, 2I. Okay? So if we wanted to take the square root of 8, we could break 8 up into its perfect square factors, which is 4 times 2. So here, this is really the square root of 4 times the square root of -1 times the square root of 2. 4 times -1 is -4 times 2 is -8. What's the square root of 4? That's 2. What's the square root of -1? That's I. What's square root of 2? We can't reduce that, so it's 2I square root of 2. Okay? So if you know how to reduce normal square roots, reducing negative square roots is really easy. The negative comes out as an I. Okay? So complex numbers will be any number in the form of A plus BI. So you have to have an I in your final result in order to have a imaginary or complex answer. In the next section, we're going to look at the powers of I.